Welcome back to TSO Daily Dose. Today I'm very happy to be sitting down with two great Australian actors who now call Hobart home, Ben Winspear and Marta Dusseldorp. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Nearly didn't make it. Was snowed in on the highway just outside of Tunbridge last night.
Was it? Yeah. So how was the experience of moving from Sydney to Tasmania been thus far with all the snow and the current weather? Has it been enticing?
Well, I think the thing that has really struck me is when we lived in Sydney, it's a very noisy place, people all trying to do the same thing, which is fantastic, but it makes it harder to make connections and build works collaboratively. But what we've found here, especially with the TSO, TMAG, Blue Cow, there's been this willingness and drive to come together to build stories for the local for local audiences, and especially now we need that more than ever, is that we nurture our local artists. So there's been this incredible energy around collaborations, hasn't there? It's just been stunning.
Yeah, so people just cold call you all the time. It's like,
Yep.
You're here, you want to
Coffee?
do something together? We're like, yep, or Thursday. And before you know it, it's all on.
But also it feels like everyone's willing to throw around enough ideas that you could be going down the wrong way and you can do a quick swoop. There's no pressure to get it right straight away. Yeah. There seems to be this willingness here to be really elastic and open, and so we're building work slowly and we're bringing in partners, and just the willingness to collaborate has been really spectacular, and we felt very welcomed, haven't we?
Yes.
That's one of the things that I think is, to me, the true Tasmanian spirit of just building it however best you can. You know, you give it a go, and if it doesn't work, you knock it down and you write everything up. And I think, you know, those collaborations it's a great opportunity to do those sorts of things down
and
here.
to stretch yourselves in different ways. So I often go to the TSO, but to be able to stand up there with them is something that fills me with joy. Yeah. Always looking for that thing you've never done before, and there are such masters. You learn to listen differently and to respond differently, and I'm always wanting to learn. I never want to think that it stops.
Are there any plans that we have coming up together with TSO?
Yeah. Certainly in the discussion stage, throwing heaps of different ideas around and seeing which ones kind of land. It's very uncertain times as well,
Absolutely.
but very interesting times in that way.
So variations of plans.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing is that music, sort of my life, I was a ballet dancer from the age of 4 until 14, and music was always integral to any kind of idea of story for me. And with my grandparents took me to the opera, and then I met Ben, and we'd always go to the opera, and we'd go to the orchestra, and we'd watch symphonies, and so to be able to put spoken word into that space is really exciting. It's like bringing all of my worlds together, and certainly for us it's a language that we admire greatly, don't we?
Wow, there's so much skill in musicianship. It's always amazing. Like, you know, you start a performance process with actors, everyone kind of rocks up, smoking with coffees on the first day, and it's like, okay, so the first one, and they're like, what are we doing? Why are we even doing this thing? And start sort of flicking through the pages. But you work with musicians or singers, they come note perfect from day one, and then it's about the how, and it's such a different way of working. I find it really exhilarating.
And the thing that I've always done, so we have composers across our straight plays that we do, and for me very much I ask for the music quite early, as soon as they can.
Wow.
And then I start working with that music even in rehearsal to build my emotional through line. So some particular poets, Steve Toulmin did the composing for Gloria, and without that composition I couldn't traverse the emotional journey I needed to make. One night the music went out because it was at Griffin Theatre, and you just have to kick a plug and suddenly everything goes. But we kept on going because we could, I suppose. And I couldn't make it to the top of the hill that I needed to get to with her without him underneath supporting me. So I find that really fascinating, that I rely on it so deeply. And certainly directing, it's something that you...
Yeah, it's working with composers in the theatre is really joyful, but it's really difficult for them because they're often responding to what they see on the floor. And that doesn't work to kind of pre-compose the music and then sort of try and overlay it over the production. Yeah. So there's a great tension where they're always feeling behind and under an enormous amount of pressure because their window to work is much shorter than ours. And you can have all these discussions about texture or instruments or whatever, what sound means in the piece, but actually you can't tell until you play it with the vocals and with the performers, and they want to keep making changes right through to the last minute because they're perfectionists working under extraordinary
and
pressure.
So many times we've been in the tech rehearsals and then the first preview and then the second preview, we mightn't have had time to necessarily chat amongst ourselves and the music will change.
Oh, right.
And I find myself out there going, whoa, 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 whoa. It's like a different wave is being thrown at me and my board doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And so I have often begged James Brown on Deep Blue Sea, please don't change it, it's perfect. And I have to beg. Occasionally they agree and I get to ride the wave as I've been practicing, but they are perfectionists and right up until the last minute, as with us in performance.
When I started directing, sound was 2 CD players. And they went home and recorded on 2 different CDs and you'd have your tracks and the stage manager would sit there and go, so it's, it's deck 2, disc 1, track 1, go, and then they'd be changing discs throughout the show. And if you made a change on a level or something, they'd have to go home and burn a whole new disc.
Wow.
So
I have once worked with a live performer.
Yeah.
So I did Lost Echo, directed by Barry Kosky, and he played live on stage in a pit with a piano.
Yeah.
And we did the entire Winterizer by Schubert.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Various people sang, not me. I was not chosen.
I was surprised for a second. I didn't know you had that talent.
No, and he didn't think I did either. I tangoed.
better to be upfront about this.
That's right.
You don't want to discover that in front of 850 people.
Yeah, we had a little practice and he was like, not you. He's not very subtle, but in a good way. I much prefer it.
Pragmatic.
I want to know quickly.
But
he did ask me, and we did tango for 20 minutes in our underwear.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget that. I was pregnant with our first child, and I was tangoing with Deb Mailman, who was also pregnant with her first child. And our tummies were touching, and so the little kicks, we could feel our kids.
They were tangoing too.
As well.
Yeah, it was a multi-tango.
That's right. But I remember I had a monologue. I played Arachne, and I sat on a couch with John Gayden behind me in his underpants and some clowns up the back, which we won't talk about. And Barry was playing to my monologue, which was about 20 minutes long. And just one night, he just started banging on the piano, like banging and banging and banging. And I'm sitting on the couch being Arachne thinking, he's not liking it. I need to go faster. I don't really know why he's banging on the piano. I got off stage totally thrown and devastated I'd let him down or something. And I saw him in the corridor. I said, Barry, what was the banging? And he said, what banging? I said, when you were slamming your fingers down on the piano? He goes, did I? I don't remember that. And he had completely was channeling some other...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He just went
didn't
off on
remember doing it. He said, maybe you weren't very good tonight. And I wanted to get you off.
You did ballet as a younger person. Do you still listen to, your Giselles and your Tchaikovsky ballets? Or
I don't, because Ben makes me turn them off. But he's like, what is this? No! Yes. So I was very into the romantics. But he quickly shut that down. So I've heard, well, with full respect.
Respectfully, slam that shut.
Slam that shut. I love cello and simple sounds. I'm more simple now. I like a kind of quiet. Arvo Pärt is one of my favourite pieces. And I've actually listened to it a few times during COVID.
Yep.
I find it really settling.
Yeah.
I think music is one of the ways to still the mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a meditator,
Yep.
so I need something that just settles me.
But I wonder if, like, one of the reasons why we like Pärt's music so much is because he began his career basically composing for film.
Yeah.
I think he scored close to 100 films.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the fact that his music kind of connects, or his musical journey began by being connected to cinema and image building and that kind of thing.
And I like to see them. So when we come to the TSO, we subscribe, as should everyone else. We sit right in the front row if we can get those
Yes.
seats with our kids.
Yep.
Because I love to see the manual labour.
Yep.
So similarly, I'm thinking of Nils Frame, who we saw at the Odeon, again, front row. And the practicalities of watching him negotiate the different instruments and feeling him labour is really exciting for me, like watching all of your incredible orchestra labouring. I like to see the sweat fly off. So it's the story within the making of the music that I really love as well, which is why I think we're so bereft, missing this live experience. The first show that Archipelago Productions was doing down here was launching the Hedberg Studio, brand new space, doing The Bleeding Tree by Angus Serini. A well-awarded play all around Australia, but not seen here, and such a hard, risky, relentless look, quite funny as well, at domestic violence and survival. So positive. We talked a lot about what would be the first production that we would want to put on here. And we wanted it to have punch and be really demanding of the audience.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame we didn't get to do it, but we will do it.
Maybe.
Having said that, we're doing quite a traditional Shakespeare.
Would you care to talk about the Cathedral series and what you're doing in it? And
Pandemics and health crises are not new. They've been around forever. And closures of theatres are a kind of a traditional response. It's, it's sensible. You want to get people from distance people and stop like huge hordes gathering together in sweaty pits. So in Elizabethan England, when in an outbreak of the plague, the theatres were all closed there. And that's when Shakespeare wrote some of his poetry. So Venus and Adonis comes out of that period when he was writing not for the stage. But it's quite a dramatic poem. It's sort of in two voices. And I've never heard it read before. I've never seen a production of it. And I think it's very kind of rarely performed in that state. So we're going to do a reading of Venus and Adonis. It's a full examination of touch. It spends so much of itself talking about touch, the intertwining of fingers and flesh on flesh, because that was the thing that was missing from people's lives, like the live experience is missing here.
Yeah.
So I think it will be really interesting for an audience to be submerged in that language and spectacle.
it's nice. I was talking with, I think, when Greg Barnes was in, about how these big historical things happen in cycles, and it's really nice to know that out of a great plague back then, great art can come. And we hope that, between us and you, we can do the same in this time now, is help to bring great art to people who need it.
And everyone in the state is saying we can't import artists with any certainty or companies anymore. So everybody has to look to their neighbours for support and inspiration and partnerships. And it's really exciting on that level.
Well, we here at TSO hope we can have a long and productive history with both of you, because you're two fantastic assets to have around town. Thank you for coming and joining us today. And we'll finish out this clip with a bit of Arvo Pärt, Spiegel in Spiegel, recorded here in the studio with our concertmaster Emma McGrath and Meriel Owen at the piano. Thanks.
Thank you.